he was a good guy, man. He was a good guy. We hung out a lot, and when he wasn't flying, he was at the squadron, and I was there at another squadron too, but he was a good guy, man. I was really saddened when I heard that he had got shot down and shot. You know, um, he didn't die in the crash. He was shot exiting the craft.
I
That's
did.
how he died. That's how I understand happened. Uh, but I think two other members died, and there was a survivor. Uh, I think the co-pilot or one of the pilots was survived. Uh, but yeah, I just wanted to touch base and be sure and tell your sister or your aunt that uh, I got in touch with you, and just wanted to give you a little info about Rudy. We were both corporals in Vietnam, and when I got back, they made me a sergeant because I was still in the helicopter field when I got back. Camp Pendleton has a helicopter field there, and that's where both I was coming. I came back, and that's was Rudy was supposed to come back. He knew that he was coming back to Camp Pendleton to the airfield, and that's when I found out when I got there off leave that he never made it back. You know, but
You mentioned the date November 12th. It seemed like and he was killed on November 14th, so 2 days later.
I think I saw him the day before. I'm pretty sure it was the 13th
Yes.
because I knew he said he might go on the mission the next day. So I mean I saw him right before he flew, man. I
Yeah.
knew that. I knew that.
That's awesome. But so tell me again, you guys, both of you from the Valley, obviously. Well, the Valley, South Texas, and
Yeah.
did you guys do boot camp together?
No, no. Uh, when I left boot camp, I was stationed at the air facility in Santa Ana. That's a helicopter base at the time. And I don't know if you're familiar with Santa Ana, those two big hangars that are there. They were blimp hangars, but it's also the headquarters for Marine Aircraft Group 36. And there was 5 squadrons in that group. One of them was a VMO 6. That was Rudy's squadron. I was in the group logistics, you know. But we shipped together on the ship, and that's where I met him, aboard the ship. We sailed out of Long Beach in an aircraft carrier. They put all the helicopters on that aircraft carrier.
You remember?
And
You remember the aircraft carrier name?
yes, the USS Princeton. The USS Princeton is no longer in duty. You know, it was decommissioned a while back. But it was a strict. It wasn't an aircraft carrier. It was a helicopter carrier. It would transport helicopters. It had a flat top, but no jets or planes would fly out of it. We sailed the Hawaiian Islands to Pearl Harbor, and 5 days after we left Long Beach, and then we loaded more supplies there in Pearl Harbor, and from there we went to Olongapo in the Philippines, and we were there for about 4 days practicing helicopter assaults. And then one morning we took off and sailed directly to Vietnam, where we made a helicopter assaults and landings on the beach in Chulai, north of Chulai, a place called Kyha, Kyha, and that's where we started setting up the camp, the helicopter camp. I didn't see Rudy much then, although I did know him aboard the ship, but I didn't see him because everybody was scattered. I was out in the perimeter, in a rifle company, and Rudy was back in the helicopter coop, with the group. And then after that, I started seeing them at the where we had little chow, and next thing you know, we're having a few beers, and his time off, we would get steaks. I would get steaks from the sailors for boots. The sailors that landed wanted boots and jackets and stuff, and in return they give us boxes of ribeye steaks. And Rudy would come over to my hooch, and some of the other Mexican boys, a couple of guys from Laredo and a couple of guys from San Antonio, and we'd come over and some of them would get tortillas from home and, stuff like that, and beans, and, we had a little barbecue at night sometimes, man. But every now and then they'd send mortars, and the Viet Cong would send mortars into the airfield at night, and the sky would light up, and we'd have to secure, just get in our bunkers and stay there till the attack was over. But Rudy went in quite a few missions. Rudy volunteered to be a gunner. He wasn't a crew chief. He was strictly a gunner. He was on the opposite side of the crew chief. And I don't know how many missions he flew before his last one. It must have been 20 or 30 missions, man. He was always flying. He'd come back and tell me about it, and I'd listen. And I personally, I never volunteered to be a gunner, although I had an opportunity. But I just stayed back,
But why didn't you want to be a gunner? What was the difference?
Getting killed.
It was high risk.
Simply, they would get extra combat pay, which, it was okay, but it was very risky, to fly. Rudy had a lot of guts, man. He was right there. He was first to go. He just wanted to be in the battle, and he'd come back. Jesse, you know what? I think I shot about 5 motherfuckers. That's what he'd say.
That's interesting. That.
Yeah, he was because he belonged to the VMO squadron, the Huey squadron, which is those small helicopters. He pretty much had priority to be a gunner. There was a lot of guys that wanted to fly and be gunners, but they really took the ones from VMO 6 first. Those were the guys that had priority. So Rudy was always up there, flying around, man. A lot of medical evacuations, and they do a lot of medevacs. They pick up wounded and bring them back to camp, and we'd help offload the shoppers, the wounded and stuff like that. But yeah, he wasn't very big. Rudy was kind of thin. He wasn't very, very big. He was about my size, about 5'7", 5'8", and but he's a great guy.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And so when he volunteered, I mean, did he do it for the pay, or he just wanted to do it because of the action?
The action. Rudy loved the combat action, man. He loved to fly. When you fly in those little choppers with the M60 machine gun sticking out, and you're hanging by a strap, that's how they secured you to the inside of the helicopter, with the strap, and he'd fly around, But he did a lot of missions. I know that for a fact. He was always flying. But we had some good times, man.
No doubt. I went to the VMO 6 reunion last year in Washington.
Oh yeah.
That video that you responded to, I shot that video.
Oh, okay.
That's my video, and I kind of put it together, and I went to the wall. I've been to the wall several times, but I didn't really know that the VMO 6 guys got together. And then one year I saw something, and I said, well, what? I'm going to go. I'm going to see. And then they welcomed me. They asked me, sure, come.
Yeah.
And they gave him They honored gunners that last year. So they gave him a whole certification, of honor. And me and my brother is named Rudy in his honor. So, and my aunt, she says, uh, it was too much for her. She says, no, I can't go.
Yeah.
It was just too much emotion, and then still,
Yeah. I understand.
excuse me. I mean, I knew my uncle. I knew him. I was young, but I knew him. And one of the things that inspired me with my uncle was I was a little kid,
Yeah.
and the news always had stories about Vietnam. And so as a little kid, I'd come in and watch the news. Walter Cronkite had 15 minutes of news,
Yeah.
and I would come in and I'd say, maybe I see my Uncle Rudy. Maybe I come and see him. But at the
Yeah.
time, I realized that someone there is taking video or filming as a cameraman, and showing me in Harlingen, Texas, what's happening across the world. And I was intrigued by that. And
Yeah.
I said, how the hell does that work? Well, I became a cameraman.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
I've been all over the world. I've been to close to about 50 countries. A lot of them many times, and
Wow.
I've been to Central America during the war, the Iran-Contra War. I've been to the tanker wars. And the reason I asked you about the carrier, I was on the USS Guadalcanal
Oh.
when they were doing missions on the Persian Gulf. They were escorting the tankers back when Iran was sowing mines. And so I was out there for that. I was in Bahrain, I was in Dubai, I've been to Baghdad, and so my uncle was a huge influence. I mean, not directly, but my love for him and me wanting to see him connected me with a world that brought to me the idea that, hey, someone out there is taking the camp, is doing the filming and showing people around the world places they can't be.
Right.
And that was my inspiration, and that's what I've done, most of my life, and I worked.
You can Google Marine Aircraft Group 36,
I will.
Mag 36, and there's there's a couple of videos of the camp of where we were stationed in Kija. One guy has a lot of pictures in the video of the choppers, of where we lived, and all this stuff. I do that every now and then, and I even copied some documents about the actions of the group, because there was 5 squadrons in the group. Only one VMO squadron. The others were bigger helicopters. But every now and then I look and see if I can spot anybody I knew or where we were. Or something, When we first got there, we set up a perimeter around the camp. We lived in there in the foxhole for 6 weeks. Just setting up barbed wire and some stuff out there in the perimeter to protect the field. That's what I did when I first got there. I was on the 8th helicopter to land at the beach. There was the first 8 helicopters that took off the carrier, and I was in the 8th helicopter.
You remember all these things. It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
It's like yesterday.
Yeah.
Even it was 58 years ago, 59 years ago.
Yeah, I know, man. It was. It was hard.
Is it still hard for you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's still hard. had a couple of buddies that were shot by snipers.
Wow.
We used to go on patrol outside the barbed wire where we were setting up. There was 8 of us. We'd go out and scout and do patrol, and we'd get shot. We'd get shot. I never got hit, but 2 of my buddies, not at the same time, but they got shot by snipers while we were out there patrolling. It was, I'll tell you a story about me and he came by, and he also had a pass to go out to the village, not to take the vehicle, okay? And he came by, he says, Jesse, there's an island across the lagoon out there, I said, yeah, I know. Everybody knows about the island. Well, they got a bar out there, and they got some whores out there. I said, they do? He said, yeah, man, you want to go? And I said, yeah, shit. So me and him took out. Then we got through the gate with his pass, and it wasn't dark yet. So we went down to the shore across from the island, and we got this guy in a little round tube, a little boat, and we asked him to take us across. It was only about 50, 60 yards across.
Right.
And he paddled us over, and Rudy says, well, I'm going to go first, and then you stay here and guard this guy because I don't want him to leave us here. I said, okay, Rudy, go check it out. And Rudy went to the bar out there. It was a hooch. It was some Vietnamese bar, It was just nothing big. And all of a sudden, I heard firing, shooting. Ta, 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 ta. And Rudy comes running back to the little boat. He said, Jesse, it's me. Don't shoot. Because as soon as somebody starts firing out there, the flares go up. The flares from the base, they go up and light up. It was dark already. They light up the sky. And Rudy jumps in the boat, and we start paddling with our rifles back to the main shore. And the little old man's paddling too, man. We're going like crazy coming back. And whenever they shoot flares and they hear firing, they lock up the gates to the base.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, nobody goes back in. So all the patrols were coming back. And we ran into a patrol that was coming back, and Rudy knew the sergeant in charge of the patrol. And the sergeant told me and Rudy, what the fuck you guys doing out here, man? He said, no. We just came out for a while. He said, well, you better get back, get at the tail end of my patrol, and you can come in with us. And that's how we got back in the camp, man. The sergeant let us tag along his platoon, in his squad to come back in. Yeah. And once we got in, Rudy says, man, we barely made it. I said, fuck, what happened? He said, well, they didn't shoot at me. There was they shot over. They wanted to scare whoever was there. They just shot across the top of the hutch, That's where the firing was. But Rudy never got hit, and he never fired, but he ran back to the boat, and we got back. But that's a true story, man.
What was he trying to do at this bar or at this hutch?
Get laid.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that's one time we went out to Kihah, and we heard that there was 3 prostitutes in a hooch. That's what they call the little
hooch.
Place.
Yeah.
And there was a line of Marines, man, to go in, and it was $20 a crack.
Oh my goodness!
And you couldn't drop your pants. You just unzip, and the horse were laying there, and they go next.
Oh shit!
and there was little kids looking through the bamboo, and laughing and giggling because all these targets were getting in there, getting laid, for $20. Rudy and I just walked by, and because the line was too long anyway, we weren't going to stand in line.
Oh my goodness, I can't
But
imagine.
I did run into one of my buddies from high school standing in line, and it was Victor Medrano. And I said, "God damn, Victor, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm going to get laid, man. I'm going to get laid." But that was life, you know. That's. We were all 20, 21, 22 years old, you know. Some 19, you know. But I'm 76 right now. So Rudy was a year or two older than I was. But he was a good guy, man. He was a good guy, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how's your health?
I suffer. I'm 100% disabled right now with the VA, and I have diabetes because we used to transport a lot of Agent Orange.
Oh shit.
Some of the other helicopters, not the VMO choppers, they didn't spray. The other choppers, the bigger ones, used to spray the Agent Orange. We used to offload the barrels of Agent Orange off of the LSTs that the sailors would dock on the shore, and we'd offload them in rough terrain forklifts and bring them and stack them. And so I was exposed to a lot to Agent Orange, and right away I was diagnosed with diabetes and liver damage, kidney damage, you know, stuff like that. So the VA here at Loma Linda treats me real good. You know, I go in, get my checkups and get my treatments and get my tax-free paycheck every month.
That's nice. You deserve it and you've earned it. So
Yeah. But
are you married?
yeah, I have a wife. Been married 55 years.
No. Wow, nice. Congratulations.
I met her as soon as I got from Vietnam. I met her at a friend's house and started dating her, and then we got married. And we lived at Camp Pendleton there till I got out. And then we went back to Texas, to Corpus, and I worked for the Army back there for a while at the helicopter repair center because I knew a lot about helicopters. And they hired me right away. I went in for an application and interview on Friday, and they told me to come to work on Monday.
Wow.
That's how fast they hired me. And then came back to Texas, to California, and I went to work at El Toro when El Toro Marine Corps Base was around. And I was in civil service there. And from there, I went to work for GSA, the General Services Administration.
Right.
I was a GS-12 Quality Assurance Specialist for about 12 years. Then I got out and did some consulting, and I ended up selling fire trucks. That's what I did the last 23 years of my life.
Wow. That's a
I sold
specialty.
fire trucks and to west of the Mississippi. Any government agency wanted to buy one, they sent me out there. I sold fire trucks in Guatemala and Mexico, and mostly in Arizona, New Mexico, and Southern California. I sold close to 300 fire trucks in that time. And I retired 6 years ago from selling fire trucks.
Wow,
That's what I did.
That's amazing. So you worked until you were 70.
Yeah. I worked. My boss didn't want to. I had a lot of contacts and connections, and people like me. They call me, Jesse, I need to buy 2 fire trucks. Okay, I'll be over. And that's how it went. Word of mouth, if they knew you. My boss didn't want to let me go, and he said, no, Jesse, you can work until your 80s. We got guys in their 80s selling fire trucks. I said, no, I got to go because my diabetes was really getting to me. My legs were bothering me a lot when I used to fly with customers back east, the plants in Wisconsin and in Florida. And I told him I got to go. So I retired. He said, you know what? I'm not going to give you a gold watch. I said, it's okay. He says, I'm going to give you your car. I had a company car.
Wow.
Really? He said, yeah. It's a It was Ford Escape that I had. And he said, that's your retirement gift. And he says, we're going to throw you a retirement party on the Queen Mary.
Nice.
I said, really? He said, yeah. So I invited some of the folks from the dealership here, and we went and spent the whole weekend on the Queen Mary. Compliments of him, and they gave me a party there and all sorts of stuff. It was great. It was a great send-off, you know, all the fire trucks I sold. So
it's nice, your dedication. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I did. So what do you do now?
Oh, well, I lived all over the place. I was in Harlingen, and I worked at the local TV station, went to Austin, got fired there after 9 months. I got a job in Dallas, worked there for 2 years, and I ended up in LA working for Channel 4 here. And then I said I was crazy. I was 22, and I was the fourth TV station. You know, I was just ready to go. And I went on my own and worked for a cameraman who was very, very good. I gave up shooting video and worked as a sound man. And we did a bunch of stuff, news specials, documentary style. And we traveled for many years, and then we broke up. And then I worked for CBS and ABC. I was in Central America. I was in the Middle East, but I was based in. I lived here, and I moved back to Dallas, and then I went to Miami, then moved to San Antonio, and I was married. I got married, and then I had 2 kids, and I moved back to Miami, back to San Antonio, now back here to LA, where I've been here for the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years or something like that. And I work now. I don't shoot news anymore. It just got to where they didn't do the same stuff, and I just was traveling two weeks a month, and it was pretty hard. And I mean, I loved it, but 30 years of it isn't plenty of time. You know, plenty of travel, and so I work now for the state of California, the California State Assembly. They have a department that does videos, press conferences for the assembly members. It's not politics. It's no campaigning. None of that. If it's they call it legislative intent. So if they want to talk about a bill, or they're going to give a check to an organization, then they want a press conference, and they stream it to YouTube and Facebook. I'm based here along with 3 other camera guys and 1 photographer in Los Angeles, and the main office is in Sacramento, and so we provide video media services for all the assembly members in the whole Southern California, and there's a bunch of them. So I get to go to the Inland Empire here and there, and I go down to San Diego. I go up to Bakersfield, and where else? What is it called? Calexico.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite customer, Calexico.
Calexico.
I sold them. They're a little town, but I sold them 4 fire trucks down there during my time. Calexico, nice little town.
Yeah, it's an interesting town. So there's an assembly member there, and he sometimes wants services, so we have to go out there, and so I'm all over the place, and I live in Santa Clarita,
okay.
Right next to Six Flags. It's a new community, and we're here, and we'll probably be here for a couple more years. I'm 60, so I don't know when I need to retire. I want to retire soon, and so
I have a nephew that works for ABC.
Really?
He does the 5 o'clock. He's the anchor on the 5 o'clock news in Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, his name is Rob Elgas, Elgas. He's my sister's boy, and he's been doing news. He worked at El Paso for about 5 years, and then he had a chance to go to either LA or Chicago. And since he was born in Crystal Lake, Illinois, and he decided to go back to Chicago, and he's been there ever since. working. I think he worked for CBS for a while, and then he moved over to ABC. He's been with ABC for 8 to 10 years now.
It's
Uh,
WLS.
yeah, yeah. ABC in Chicago. He does the evening news.
Nice.
The 5 o'clock news
That's a
or something
prime
like
spot.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great. And
I have another nephew of another sister that did 3 tours in Iraq and 2 tours in Afghanistan.
wow.
And he started as a lieutenant and he retired as a full bird colonel. Right now, he's in charge of all the government programs for Caterpillar in Illinois.
Nice.
He does, yeah. There have been some good boys in my family. I just had a brother that passed away. He was a master sergeant in the Marine Corps. He served 22 years in the Marine Corps and retired and lived in Corpus. And but he was in Vietnam too. After I got back, they shipped him over to, and he was in the Battle of Khe Sanh when Khe Sanh was under siege, and he survived that.
Wow.
I had another brother that was stationed in Korat Air Base in northern Thailand when I was in Vietnam, and he was an air policeman up there. And when he got out, he went and applied with DPS, the Texas State Troopers.
Yes.
And he got in. He was a state trooper, stationed in Temple there for a while, and he rose to the rank of sergeant in the state troopers. And but he was in the driver's license section, DPS. You know,
Right.
they have the driver's licenses departments in DPS.
Yes.
And for a long time, he was down in McAllen. He was in charge of 23 counties
Jeez.
in South Texas. All of those counties out of McAllen. And unfortunately, he passed away early. He was 47.
Wow, that's young.
He died of waiting for a heart transplant.
Jeez.
Early on, when he was in the trooper ranks, he arrested a guy that had hepatitis, and my brother caught hepatitis from him, and it damaged his heart. So for a long time, he had a weak heart, and eventually got to him. You know, he had to retire, and he suffered, but he was proud to be a trooper.
Yeah, it's nice. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, my dad passed away at 47. And my aunt, Frances, they call her Tia Panchis. She's the last of the sisters. She's the last of the family, you know. And
He lives in Houston, you said?
she lives in Houston, and she's been married to her husband 55 years, Willie Guillermo Garza. And you know, I've always had this thing for my uncle. You know, I mean, I've always, you know, I used to have a little picture of a little black and white, little Polaroid. I don't know. They're not Polaroids. It was a little black and white with the frame and to tell you what year it was shot.
Yeah.
Of me, a little kid, like almost. I mean, I was a toddler, a baby, with my uncle Rudy at the Port Isabel and my dad at the Port Isabel pier fishing.
Oh yeah.
And so I had this picture on my refrigerator in San Antonio. So every day I would see this picture, and I'd go to the refrigerator, And one time, my grandmother, his mother, she showed up and spent some time with us, and she left, and I had been so used to seeing the picture, it took me a couple of days to figure out it was gone.
Oh no, she took it.
Well, to the last day, she claimed she didn't. I mean, come on.
Oh boy.
So what am I gonna do? You know, so it's a funny story. You know, so, Mamá, did you take the? No, mijito, yo no sé, no sé nada de eso. And
Oh,
it was just a point of contention. Oye, mamá, dame mi foto, give me my picture, And she said, no, qué picture, qué foto, no sé lo que habla, So it was just, and I know she had it. I mean, there was no doubt. Because that photo didn't move from that refrigerator spot. And so I've always had this admiration for my uncle and wanting to know more. And so I started interviewing my aunt and my uncle, and I went to the VMO6, and I have kind of a collection of all his things. I have the telex, the original telex where they sent the family
uh-huh.
the
Oh,
news, and I have his service card.
uh-huh.
I have a lot of his things, and I don't know how I ended up with them, but I have them.
Oh, that's nice, man. That's real nice.
No, it's very special, and so I just started saying, and some of the people that I worked with, some of the cameramen who were Vietnam cameramen, Vietnam War cameramen.
Uh-huh.
Ended up working with them in the States, after they came back to the States and started working. I didn't
Yeah.
put two together, and I said, well, wow, wait a minute, we have a connection here, So I'm trying to go talk to one of a really famous cameraman who lives now in Texas. He was here, he was living in Santa Paula, like,
Uh-huh.
30 miles from here, and then he moved north, and then he moved back to Texas, and I was just in Texas, and I missed him. So he was gone, he wasn't there. So it's just really been interesting. I put that Facebook post, the Facebook page for him to dedicate to him, and just
Well, I'm glad I saw it. I really did. I really am glad. Uh,
me too.
I just, I just wanted to write something.
Well, and it's I don't know how to explain it, and I think there is no explanation. Um,
No, no, there is.
you guys are special. You guys are special. That was a period of time that will never be like that again. And he volunteered for the service. He didn't get drafted. Were you drafted?
Oh no, I volunteered. I volunteered because I I used to fight. I was small in high school to be in the football team, so I started boxing primarily because I have a cousin that had just returned from the Olympics. He was on the 1960 Olympic boxing team for the United States. His name is Humberto Lefty Barrera. He's from Robstown, Texas.
Robstown.
Yeah, and he was on the same boxing team with Muhammad Ali, with Cassius Clay. He was the flyweight on the boxing team, and Cassius was the light heavyweight at the time. And he inspired all us cousins to fight, and I fought in the. I was a novice champion in 64 in Corpus Christi, and then when I joined the Marine Corps, I joined the Marine Corps boxing team. They had a boxing team, and we fought for a little while, and then they disbanded us because of Vietnam, and we had to ship overseas. But I was fortunate enough to box aboard the ship, aboard the Princeton. There was Marines versus the sailors up on the deck.
Huh.
We used to have smokers up there, and I used to fight up there against the sailors. And then when I got to Vietnam, we also had smokers in Vietnam. I got pictures of me fighting in Vietnam in one of the smokers.
What are the smokers? What is that?
That's what they used to call the bouts. They used to have 10 fights, and they were called smokers. The whole thing, instead of calling them boxing matches, they used to call them smokers. So that's what I did whenever I had a chance, to fight in some of the smokers there in Vietnam. It was something to do, So because all we did is drink and smoke and eat, and then shit and and that's about it. And be careful, So
Raise some hell.
it was it was quite an experience. Let me tell you, man.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Just from digging the foxhole when we first got there, man. I mean, we started digging, and it was raining, and it was muddy, and it was it was me and a corporal that was with me, and we were in one foxhole, and we were there for 6 weeks. And every day we made the foxhole a little bigger, so we could lay down and take turns watching on guard and stuff. But that's what we did. We used to bathe in the South China Sea. There was nowhere to take a shower. Everybody who wanted to get cleaned up could go out to the ocean and wash your clothes, the mud off your dungarees, and bring them back. And they were like starch. You put them to dry, and they were white and stiff because of the salt. But that's what we did.
I can't imagine.
It was quite an experience, man. Never forget the days, But Rudy he's a hell of a guy. Hell of a guy. I really liked him.
No, there's no doubt. He volunteered because, as I understand it through my aunt, that he wasn't. He wanted to go to college, and there's no way he could afford to go to college. So he says, "I go get my benefits, my GI Bill, and then go to college." And he was not. He had a green card. He wasn't a citizen.
Right.
And
there was a lot of guys like that in the service. And when I joined, I joined for 4 years. I was a volunteer. I didn't know that about Rudy.
We're trying to get. Well, I'm trying to get a posthumous citizenship. That's one of my aunt's wishes. Is to make him a citizen.
Oh yeah.
So the guys at the VMO6, they said, "Oh, I know somebody," and I said, "That's okay, fine." I had the papers on Obama's desk on the way out, and I got that far because it has to be an exception. So, and I had a friend of mine who was an ambassador to Morocco, who walked it into his office, and he just said, "Well, I'll let Hillary do it," and says, "I'm done," and let Hillary take it. Then of course that didn't happen, and kind of just stalled. So we'll see. I mean, I'm trying to make that push again. It's just a simple signature for someone. He could be a commander, someone in the Defense Department, and So anyway, that's a little tidbit. And I've been trying to get a school named after him in Harlingen, and he's been a contender, but they choose someone else, and so, but it's just want to keep his memory alive and keep your memory alive and keep all you guys' memory alive. I really mean that when we honor my uncle, we honor all of you guys, and we honor everybody, and we think of everybody. And
one year I found out where he's buried, and I was going to go visit his grave.
San Benito.
When Texas, yeah. But I wasn't able to go down there to Harlingen, where he's buried. But maybe one of these days when I go back to Corpus, I'll do that. I still have family in Corpus, so I'll take a drive down there, visit his gravesite, look it up where it's at again. I forget where it's at.
It's in San Benito in a place called Monte Meta, something like that. It's one of the highways to the island. If you're on 77, if that makes any sense to you, going from Harlingen to Brownsville, you can take a left. I think it's FM 100. I don't remember the numbers, but it's just right outside of San Benito. My grandfather's there, my grandmother's there, my dad's there, my dad's second wife is there. And so we have some family members there. So he's there. And he's easy to find.
Yeah.
He should be. But how are your days? Do you stay busy or do you take it easy or?
I play golf.
Oh,
I've been playing golf for 55 years. Uh, I I I live right on the golf course here at Beaumont, Oak Valley Golf Course, and I've been playing Tuesdays, Thursdays, sometimes Friday and Saturday. But I try to get in at least twice a week to play. I used to be real good, not no more. The age catches up with you.
well, if you can
So
shoot your age, you're doing pretty damn well.
yeah. I go down to Mazatlan, Mexico every year to play in a big tournament invitational down there. I've been
Nice.
going down there for 25 years.
Wow.
Uh, it's a tournament it's an invitational. It's been going on for 48 years, I think, down there, and it's for amateurs, you know. So we go every November down there. As a matter of fact, I'm already booked, flight and hotel, ready to go down.
So you're
What?
active.
Huh?
You're very active.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I I belong to. We belong to a wine club here at the. I live in a 55 and over community, and they have a lot of functions here. We belong to a wine club, and my wife does bingo and bunco, and they have karaoke down here. It's just our age crowd. Uh, that's what we do. We stay active. I have two daughters that live in Riverside, uh, and I have five granddaughters. No boys,
Wow.
so we see them quite a bit because it's not too far from where we live. As a matter of fact, we were at the casino today with my daughter. She called us. She said, "Dad, you want to meet me? I'm going to be at San Manuel Yamabad Casino." I said, "No, your mom can go." But they talked me into going. So I went and lost some money, and I came home.
Well, they didn't build that place on winners, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, I know. We enjoy it.
Yeah.
We have a little fun doing it. And we try to stay away as much as possible. You lose money. I mean, last year I won a jackpot. I won $12,000.
Wow.
But and that's once every once every 20 years. It doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, that's the hook, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
No, no. Well, listen, it,
yeah.
it, it would be wonderful. Like I said, I may mention to you, I'm recording stuff about Rudy, and I would like to sit down with the camera and just talk to you, just like we're having the conversation right now. Would that be okay?
Sure, no problem.
Just you and I sit down and shoot the shit like we're doing, but in person,
Yeah, okay.
and just have a silly camera, on the tripod a couple of feet away from us, and just get you and talk to you about your life and Rudy and all of that good stuff. And
Yeah,
I play
but
golf too.
we're not gonna record the visits to the whorehouses. No,
Oh,
we don't do that between me and you.
of course, that's funny. But no, definitely would love to. And I play golf too. I've been playing since I was a little kid. My dad used to take me. Rudy would play golf too.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
He played golf and he got my dad to start playing golf. And so my dad started playing golf. And he was pretty good. He was a scratch player. He was a hustler. He would go out there and try to make some money. And
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
so every summer, I lived with my dad. When my parents got divorced, I lived with my dad. And in Harlingen, Texas, Tony Butler Municipal is the name of the course. And he would drop me off and give me a quarter, and he'd say, "I'll see you at 5." He dropped me off at 7:30, and he said, "I'll see you at 5. Here's a quarter. Don't spend it all."
I went down. I used to belong to the Pan American Golf Association,
Yeah.
and one year we went to Brownsville to play, and there was two courses down there: the Angel and the Devil, El Ángel y el Diablo.
Rancho Viejo.
Yeah, well, they were called El Ángel and el Diablo.
But the country club was called Rancho Viejo, and they had two courses. The Angel was long,
Uh-huh.
and then the Diablo was short, but with all the orchards and tight.
Yeah. Well, we played a tournament down there. There was maybe about 800 or 900 players from the Pan American Golf Association. I think there was chapters in Brownsville, in McAllen. I don't know if Harlingen had some, but there was about 2-3 chapters down in the valley of the Pan American Golf Association.
So, which chapter did you belong to?
I belong to Corpus Christi.
Did you know Sam Garza?
I'm sorry?
Did you know Sam Garza?
Sam Garza.
He sold insurance.
No.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay, it's okay. He was from Corpus, but I think he was part of the Harlingen Pan Am. But even though he was from Corpus, but anyway, it just popped in my mind.
I also belonged to Pomona. Pomona had a chapter, a Pan American chapter. So when I lived in California, I belonged to the Pomona chapter. But I was pretty much, because I was from Corpus, I joined that, and whenever I went to Corpus, I'd play with those guys, But we had a lot of fun playing with the Pan American Golf Association. But most of those guys, they're all old and they've passed on. Not too many young guys have joined, but the chapters are still going.
Well, that's amazing because my dad was part of that, and that was a big culture. So every year we'd go to different. Well, sometimes we would go. It was nearby. Sometimes it was far.
Yeah.
But we would, take the wife and my mom and everybody would go, and families would get together, and we'd go to Houston or Austin, or those are places I remember, and it was all Pan Am related, and it would be a whole week. Yeah, San Antonio too.
They have an archive. Pan American has an archive there.
The Brackenridge golf course right there close to downtown. I have a picture of my dad back in the 60s.
I used to play Brackenridge. Oh yeah, man. We have a lot in common. Yeah, me and your family, especially with the golf.
Yeah. Well, I'll bring my golf clubs out there. Maybe we'll go play a round on the weekend, one of these weekends.
All right, man. You got my number. You got my name.
Yes.
Just give me a heads up, man, and we'll try to work something out that's convenient for you. You ever come out to Palm Springs?
I haven't been out there in a long time. It's usually on my way to Texas. I used to drive back and forth because the wife was in San Antonio for a couple of years while I was here. And I had gotten sick I had stage 4 lymphoma.
Oh, really?
In 2016, and we were about to move, and then I said, "Well, I can't work, and you're going to come out here, so you better stay there." And so it was crazy.
Yeah.
But UCLA, they cured me, man. They took care of me. I had a stem cell transplant. And,
really?
It was incredible. A couple years, and I fully recovered. I've never felt better in my life.
Yeah. Now, were you a veteran too?
No, I wasn't a veteran. No.
Oh, okay.
Not a veteran. I've been around a lot of war and a lot of AKs and Kalashnikovs and a lot of turmoil. So it's if I'd have had a weapon, I would probably not be having this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of being trouble. I was always in the trouble areas. So you just stick your hand up and just say, "Hey, I don't got nothing." So if I had a weapon, they would have shot me. So.
Well, getting back to your uncle, man, he was a hell of a guy. I was really looking forward to hanging out with him when he got back I knew he was coming back to the same place I was at, because he had pretty much been informed of that, because he wasn't going to be there much longer after he went down. He wasn't going to be there much longer. I don't know what his rotation time frame was, but I was there 13 months, and he was pretty close to coming back. I don't know when, but we had a good little gathering, man, before I left. He was a good guy.
And you remember the conversation. So let's talk about it when we meet next time. And I'll tell you that when I understand it, and memories kind of get fuzzy. And
oh yeah.
But my understanding was his clothes had already come back home. I don't understand that. I just think that he was already coming back, so some of his stuff had already been shipped back. If that was true, I don't know. I get different stories on that, but
Well, I know he was getting ready to rotate back. I mean, because we were all in the same time frame, you know. I mean, the most you could serve was 12 months to 14 months in one tour in Vietnam. Uh, I don't know. Some guys wanted to stay over, but I don't know if they could or not, or how they would do it. I had to come back because I had a brother waiting to go overseas. You know, he was a platoon sergeant. And he was a ground pounder in the Marine Corps, and he was ready to go. He kept telling me, "You're writing to me. When are you gonna come back? When are you gonna come back? My turn. My turn." Because we couldn't have two members of the same family in the war zone at the same time. That was the law that they set up after Private Ryan venture with his brothers. Remember that?
yes, yes, Saving Private Ryan. Yeah,
Yeah. So there was a law that no two members of the same family could be in a war country at the same time.
in
So
conflict. Wow.
I was the first one to go, besides my brother, and my other brother was in Thailand though. Funny thing, he was I went on rest and recuperation to Bangkok. Uh,
R&R.
yeah, R&R, and when I came back, I stayed in touch with my brother, and I was lucky to get a second R&R. So I went back to Bangkok, and he was supposed to come down. Korat Air Base is 150 miles north of Bangkok, and he was supposed to meet me down there, but there was a bus that would run through the base and bring people down, and he missed it. So I told him to stay up there. I go pick him up. So I rented a taxi cab, and I went 150 miles north in a cab to pick him up and bring him back to Bangkok. It cost me $30 for the cab ride, round trip.
Amazing.
And all the food and drink that the cab driver could intake. You know, that was the deal. So he took me up there. I got to the base, and my brother said, "You're fucking crazy, man. Let's go. Get in the cab." So here we are in the middle of the night coming back. And there was no paved highways coming back from up there, man. It was half jungle coming back. So the goddamn taxi cab had a flat.
Oh, shit.
He had no spare. So he takes the tire off, leaves it up in the jack. Me and my brother fortunately had a case of beer and a big old Bowie knife. And we sat on the hood of the car in the middle of the night drinking beer, telling stories.
Wow.
While this guy went down the village to get his tire fixed. He came back about 4 or 5 hours later with the tire. They brought him back and put the tire back in the cab, and we proceeded to Bangkok for the next 4 days.
It took you that long, huh?
Yeah, we were there I had $1,000 when I got there with my brother. And when I left, he said, "Lend me $10 to go back to the base." I said, "I only got $5."
Oh, shoot.
Hadn't seen him in years, a couple of years. He was a year and a half older than I was. He's the one that became the state trooper eventually. Yeah. Good guy. Yeah, good guy.
Good time, good money well spent.
Oh, yeah, man. I'd do it all over again, man. But getting back to your uncle, man, I miss him. I always have.
It's wonderful that you reached out. It means a lot. It really, really, really means a lot. You know, he's never forgotten, and you didn't forget him, and there's just nothing. There's no words.
No words. I had some pictures of him. They got lost. Somehow they ended up at there were slides. I had slides back then, And somehow I had a couple of hundred pictures, and I know Rudy was in at least 20 of them.
Wow.
But my brother took them. My sister-in-law got rid of crap, and they got lost along the way. I could never find them at my mother's house, my sister's house, my sister-in-law's house. I just could never find the slides, man.
Yeah, those are priceless. Priceless.
Oh, let me tell you, man. I wish I'd have hung on to them myself, you know. But they just disappeared. I did have a few pictures, but they're mostly about me and some of the guys
that'd be good.
that were with me at the camp. But no, I didn't have any Rudy at all. But every year I do a post in Memorial Day and put Rudy in my Facebook post.
Oh.
And another buddy, the one that was in boot camp with me, that was shot by a sniper. I put them together in memoriam.
That's nice, beautiful. That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really. I got a hold of his girlfriend from high school.
Is that right? Wow. Okay.
She was very shy and she was still troubled by. She got married, and the fact that there was history with Rudy and their husband. It was very it caused a lot of problems. Even though Rudy wasn't here, even though Rudy was dead or had been killed, it was still something that, I don't know. The way she explained it was, and she had all his letters. He would send her letters from Vietnam, and I said, "Do you still have them?" She says, "No, it wasn't. Not too long ago. I got rid of them. I mean, not too long ago. It was like, 10 years ago or something." So she had all his letters and pictures, and I think she was kind of hesitant to get involved in the conversation, and she just says it was just heartbreaking, and it was very painful for many years, and then I got married, and it still carried into my marriage, and and so I understood, and I wanted to go see her and talk to her, and she says, "No, I can't do that right now." And I said, "Oh, no big deal, no big deal. I just wanted to, just to come out and just have a conversation, but she didn't want to engage. It was very, very difficult for her, and I think that would.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
It would open up those wounds, like memories have no time. Memories is like yesterday, is like day before. Someone says, time heals. That's bullshit. It doesn't. That's whoever said that is crazy. Because you can think of something with just a smell of something, and boom, it takes you right back to it where that event happened or something happened, or good, bad, or indifferent. It just doesn't. Your mind is so powerful; it just goes back.
Yeah. No. There's a master's gunnery sergeant, master sergeant. He was a gunnery sergeant in our group. His name was David Kaufman. He was a Creole from Louisiana, and he wanted to be a gunner, and he did, because he had the rank. He was a gunner for a while, and then when we got back from Vietnam, he wanted to go back to fight. He just had it in him. He wanted to be a ground pounder, which is a infantryman, and lead a platoon and a squadron and stuff. And you can search him on Facebook. I mean, on Google. His name is David Kaufman, and he went back, and he was killed. He was killed in Louisiana. Has done some memorials for him and stuff, and wrote some nice stories about him. Another gunnery sergeant that was with us in the group, as soon as we got there, 2 weeks after we got there, because they had rank, and he wanted to be a gunner, and he went up there, and he never came back. He died. They were shot down too. But gunners were brave men, man. They were brave. they had balls to go up there and get shot up and killed and so forth. And that's one thing about Rudy. He had balls.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. He had balls. What a guy.
Wow.
What a guy.
What an uncle. Yep, definitely. Well,
And
Jesse,
we used to speak in Spanish all the time, you know. Hey, vato, ¿qué pasó? Hey, papá. And the gringos hanging around. Hey, man, what the fuck you guys saying? Speak English. Chingada, cabrón. We just crack up, man.
That's
Just,
funny.
don't pay attention, Rudy. Síguele, vato, síguele. We crack up. He'd come over to my tent, you know, in the afternoon. We sit around, drink beer, smoke cigarettes, not joints, but we smoke cigarettes and just hung out, man. Just hung out.
That's awesome, Jesse. That means so much just to know and hear stories from him and keep his
memory alive.
Definitely. You don't know how much this helps, and
yeah. Well, I commend you for keeping his memory alive too. You know, it's important for you and write things down. And you know, I'm doing a little book for my family. Some pictures and some history about me, and you know, for my grandkids, and you know, so they know a little bit about me when I'm gone. You know. Oh, that's
maybe we can do
important.
something
Yeah.
in that regard. You know, I'll you have a DVD player?
No.
No. Are you pretty good? Are you pretty good with computers? If I send you a link, you can look at something.
Oh yeah. Send it. Send me. Well, send it to my phone number.
Okay.
You know, you send me a message, or you know, I have an email account also, and I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
So that's the extent, you know, of you know, when we get old, we don't do a lot of that ticky stuff, you know. We rely on the grandkids
to come and fix the phones and come and do this and change this. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I have some pretty sharp, a pretty sharp son-in-law and some granddaughters that just, you know, they take care of grandma and grandpa.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Jesse, this isn't the last conversation we're going to have, and we're going to play some golf.
Okay.
We're going to have a beer or two and shoot the shit. And
okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for getting in touch with me, man. You know, I appreciate it.
No, it was that you reached out, and I have no. I mean, it's like wow, you know, and it was the second time, and it's like I told you, I thought it was Richard Rodriguez and Jesse Mendez. And I had to go back and check the voicemail, and no, it was Richard Rodriguez, and he lives in Riverside.
Oh, really? I'm gonna look him up.
Richard Rodriguez.
You know, I remember a Richard, and I don't remember if his last name was Sanchez or Gomez or something. But I remember a Richard was in the group with us. And I don't know whatever happened to him. You lose a lot of contact, you know, when you get back and know your own ways and stuff, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Life goes on. But he had the same story. Like before he returned, he came back. The last night he was there, he hung out and stayed the night up and talking and shooting the shit with Rudy. And then he flew back. And it wasn't until months later that he found out that he had been killed slightly after they were hanging out. So he has a very similar story as you do. So, and I called him. He says, yeah, he left me his number, and I called him, and I left. He says, we get a lot of robocalls or whatever.
Right, unknown numbers.
Unknown numbers. So just leave a message. So I left a message, and I never heard back. So I was going to follow up. I've been busy, so I'm not going to let him go. So
no, I'm going to look him up right now after I get off with you. See if I can get in contact with him.
And I'll text you his number.
Yeah.
I'll get you what I know from him, and we'll go from there. And then we'll play some golf soon. The weather's kind of cooling off a bit. This is a good time to go out and play and not fry your head.
There's a lot of nice courses out here, man.
All right.
There's a lot of nice courses. So yeah, let's do that. Text me. You got my number there.
I do.
Well, text me Richard Rodriguez's contact information, number, whatever you have.
I will do that, definitely. Yes, sir.
And, I'll see if I can get a hold of him. Anyway, man, it was a pleasure talking to you. And
likewise.
Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. That's 100%. No doubt. We're going to keep in touch, and we're going to do the things.
Take care.
All right, sir.
All right. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.